We'll have some focus today around the back as well as the forearms as far as physical points of reference. And in general, we will be welcoming summer and the summer body. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Welcome to tonight's practice. A little movement, a little breathing practice, and finishing with a yoga nidra. Taking this moment as we begin our time together with that settling, with that moment of really arriving, letting this be almost like a bookend or a bookmark in the flow of your day, and starting this activity with the fresh awareness, letting go of what's happened before, and letting go what's to come next. We'll have some focus today around the back as well as the forearms as far as physical points of reference. And in general, we will be welcoming summer and the summer body, however that shows up in your life, in your world. So if you're sitting, you might touch the floor at the sides of you. And if you're lying down, you might stay right where you are and like a snow angel, so kind of the opposite of summer, a winter motif. Whether you're sitting or lying down, you're going to inhale and reach the arms up overhead. And then as you exhale, those arms return fingertips along the sides or down to the floor. And in this movement, I invite you to think of the arms like the indicator arrow of how full your tank is, your oxygen tank. So as you're breathing in, the hands lift as the lungs get fuller and you're allowing that breath. You might be softening through the body to encourage the most available air and inhale. And as the hands and arms go down, you are encouraging the cleansing exhale, the removal of that spent breath, of that metabolic waste. And from here, we'll move into the fingers and arms. So you might find a position that feels good to you. If it feels good to reach up today, you might practice with the hands way up there. And if you're lying down, you might just prop them up on the elbows. If you're sitting, you might even let them rest on your legs, but we'll begin by folding the thumbs in and wrapping the fingers around the thumbs. Again, no right or wrong position. I'm demonstrating here where they are visible, but they could just as well be in a further open position if that feels good, if it's not too much for your body. Noticing what effort you're in the mood for, and it might be just an easy place to make these fists and open them back up again. At least 3 up to 5 times that you fold down and give that clench a squeeze, and then each finger individually if you are interested in exploring how possible that is to move one finger at a time. And again, at least 2, at least 3 sweeps across the palm, each finger at a time. And little kitty cat claws, closing all the knuckles to make tiny fingers, but keeping the palms open. If you really need and could use that arm and hand and wrist support, drawing circles with the fingers, 3 circles in each direction. More if you have the time. If this is something that feels especially beneficial to you, you can come back and do a deeper, longer set of multiple circles of each finger in one direction and the other. Getting all these finger movements and motions. Exploring that stretch, especially the expansion, the jazz hands there that help open the palms and send a lot of good information to the brain. There's lots of connection between the fingers and the hands. So from the hands to the wrists, forward and back. And again, here you might explore different arm positions, especially if you are looking for the forearms to receive some benefit. What does it feel like to move these wrists in different positions and at different facings, right? The palms can be facing up, the palms could be facing down. Lots of different nuances to explore and to see how they're going to affect your body today and which direction, which angle really finds that spot in your forearms, if that's what you're looking for. That was a suggestion from the participants. So exploring that with the wrists, from the bending and the folding to rotations. Rotations left, rotations right. And you might even explore infinity movements. And those can come in two directions, reversing that just like you reversed the circle. Yeah. Wrists and elbows, bending the arms. If you're sitting, you're straightening and then folding the arms, fingertips to the shoulder. Lying down, same thing, all kinds of different directions. You can reach right in front of you. If you're lying down, you might reach to the ceiling. You might reach out to the sides. You might reach out overhead. Doing a few in all the directions, and whichever one feels the best, give yourself a double or a triple of the one that feels the best. That's right. Some of you are going to the back. If you have that space behind you, wherever your body is saying yes, we're going to move through the elbows. So when you feel satisfied with this little piece, stop halfway. You're stabilizing the shoulders, and the wrists are just along for the rides. And you draw circles. So we know that the arms get short, right, with the fingers by the shoulders, and we know they get long, wide open. And you're exploring what is in between. How big of a rotation can you make? And hopefully this is helping some of those muscle attachments that include the muscles of the forearms, changing that, reversing that direction. Seeing how high you're able to keep your elbows. Are they down low? Is it just kind of a thing? Are you able to lift them up at shoulder level and keep them there? Noticing what's available. And if you are feeling up for it, exploring a different shape than just a circle, exploring the infinity, the figure 8, horizontal. In one direction and in the opposite direction. Get it one way and the other. And then give those arms a rest wherever you are. I imagine you're feeling that. Take a breath or two into the elbows, into the wrists. Can you feel the breath in each of the fingers? As we move to the shoulders themselves. So if you are lying down, this is often a time when sitting up is worth it to access that back reach of the shoulders. But if you don't feel like it, you don't feel like it, and you honor that. Your comfort, again, your decisions about what to do with yourself are so important right now, more than my suggestions. So letting yourself choose what feels best. And if you, wherever you are, you can put your fingertips on your shoulder. If you're lying down, they can move to the front. You can still bring the elbows towards one another. And if you're sitting up and you have the space, you can reach behind, and you might even look up. You might even feel that kind of superhero cape opening. You might open through the neck. Let your jaw be soft. Let the mouth maybe even open a little bit. The tongue be loose. Unless it feels good. Notice, maybe it feels good to reach with the jaw and add to that stretch. But be careful, listening to the signals from your body forward and back. Enough to warm it up, and then moving it into a bigger shape, exploring a bigger rotation. At least 3, maybe more, in this one direction, and then reversing, going the other way. And letting that roll around. And from there, exploring the figure 8. in one direction and then in the opposite direction. So many directions, so many movements. Shoulders in particular, they've got that backward movement, that together apart movement. They actually have more planes, more directions and places to go than any other body part. Our shoulders have, I think, 4 different directional planes. So as those finish out, let them rest. Notice what else you might need there. Some shrugs, some circles with the shoulders without the fingertips up there. What does it need? And we'll move into the neck from here. When you're ready, you'll let the head fold forward. If you're lying down, you can do this lying down. You can stretch the back of the neck. If you're sitting, you can do it sitting. Finding that movement of the head in this forward and back plane. Slow motion, yes. And I'm a fan of going over in your mind what you are saying yes to. What is your yes these days? Yes to beautiful weather, a little cooler. Oh, yes. Yes to friendly wildlife, not too aggressive critters in the yards. Forward and back. You might stay with that for a while if it feels good, and then you'll move to a side to side, up and over, ear towards the shoulder. And bringing to mind the mystery. And there is so much mystery. Mystery of life. And we've got this moment. We've got this moment to be alive, to express ourselves, to make these bodies feel better by moving them in these conscious and kind ways. From the side to side, we've got a twist for the neck, and that's turning to look behind like a slow motion no. And you might review some boundaries worth setting. No to chaos and no to confusion. We are in the depth and the thickness of our Mercury retrograde. Tomorrow, Mercury is in direct station. Things should start clearing up, but they do take a moment. So as we hit the peak of summer, Mercury will slowly wane. We are going to hit a full moon on Thursday this week on the 24th in Capricorn. So it's going to keep being intense for a little bit. So let those kinks work out of your neck. And as you come back to the middle, you start to draw a small circle with your nose. Maybe you're drawing the planet Mercury and its orbit, letting that be soft in the jaw and through the tongue, letting the muscles of the neck rejoice from this soft movement. In one direction, you'll take it into the center, into stillness, changing that direction, going the opposite way. You might be drawing the full moon, going the opposite way. From as big of a shape back to the center, back to stillness. And I invite you to explore some of these more nuanced movements, the infinity or a figure 8. Maybe you'd like to spell your name out with your nose. What else can your neck do? Where else can it explore with your attention, with your presence, with you minding and guiding and watching in one direction and in the opposite direction, changing from one way to the other. If your head were Mercury or were the moon, what would it orbit? How would it move through space? Finding the kinks and the nooks and the crannies there to work it out. And as you complete that, as you satisfy sensations in and around the neck, take a deeper breath. Take a notice of where you've done, what you've done. And we'll move to the feet and the toes. So if you're sitting, a great place to stay is with the feet extended. If you are in a chair, they can be right there if you're lying down, or you might want to lie back down. You can be flat on your back as well. And what we did with the fingers, you'll continue in a similar way with the feet, beginning with the toes, crunching them down into foot fists, and then lifting them back up and open. A few times there, down and out, up and down. And then separating the smaller toes from the bigger toe and playing with the ability to divide the movement of the big toe from the remainder a few times. And then reaching with the little toes as you begin to add the ankles into the movement, as you're spreading out those toes, making, jazz feet. Is that a thing? We're making jazz feet in this class. Spreading those toes out and then moving into the ankles, forward and backward bends, flexing and extending. Forward and back, circles. Circles in one direction and in the opposite direction. And if you'd like, you might do some other shapes, some infinities or some other explorations of the alphabet, of letters, of words, letting your ankles move around. In preparation to move to the next joint, the knee joint. As the ankles and the toes are satisfied, take a breath to that. And choosing one leg, we'll have one leg at a time to begin with. Opens and closes, starts with just finding that range of motion. Where is this leg available to go? And once you establish point down and point up, you can then explore the roundabout way. Where can I explore? Where can I point side to side, making a kind of a oval, maybe an egg shape, a raindrop shape with my lower leg as I explore where the knee can point in its open and close trajectory. One direction and then the other. Finding that circle clockwise and counterclockwise. And then moving into the number 8. Number 8 for the knee in one direction and switching that up to go opposite. We'll let this knee make whatever other movements, explorations the leg might guide you, might need from this moment. And before you begin to the other side, before you switch to the other leg, take this moment. This is often a precious moment to just check in and say, wow, just that knee wiggle, and what a difference in the way the body rests on the earth. Evening that out with the same sequence, opening and closing. From the opening and the closing, there's an exploration. My experience has been that the knees are very connected to the hips, right? They're neighboring joints, and so if the hips are tight and stiff and achy, then moving the joints above and below the achy joint is often helpful. So any of you who are feeling a tightness in the hips, notice how the knees are behaving as you draw these circles, these number 8s, feeling any responses, any reactions up higher into the upper leg, noticing what's going on around the pelvic floor, around the hamstrings, around the gluteus medius, that kind of back pocket muscle here. So as you complete those movements, one leg and the other, you have the option to play with both legs together. If that sounds like something your body might like to explore and do, and you might take this time to rest. You might take this time to breathe, but it might work for you to challenge your core strength. You might lean on your arms if it feels too much to just hold your body up if you're sitting the way I'm demonstrating. And you might need to rest in between the different directions, the different shapes. And we'll move into a butterfly movement from here as you complete those, and do take your time. If they're feeling good, if they're feeling fun, you can stay with those knee movements, and when you're ready, your feet will come to the ground. You'll open the knees to the sides, and you'll begin with some flutter. And that might be quick and that might be slow. It might be nice to even like squeeze and bring the knees up. You might even let your feet come together as you slowly encourage them to loosen, open out. And it might feel good to you to walk a little into a forward bend from this butterfly. And keep in mind that the distance of the feet to the pelvis will make a difference in your comfort. So if it feels too tight, if it feels too packed in there, let those feet come out further. That will be more comfortable for you as you explore the forward bend in the butterfly. And you might also explore some little twists, and this might be nice for the stretching of the back. If you're in a little bit of a side bend, go slowly. You might even reach the arm to get some of those layers of connective tissue engaged and stretched. That might feel nice between the hip and the armpit. And that might be a low sort of face towards the knee, face towards the floor sort of stretch, with the arm coming up along the head, along the ear. And you might also explore more of an open position, so face forward or even up towards the ceiling to get at some of these details around the back as you explore what's happening, right? We've done all the joints so far. We started with the arms and then moved into the fingers and wrists, elbows and shoulders and necks, and then we move through the toes, knees, and hips, and now we're at the spine. So you might be doing this combination fold, forward, bend, and twist. You might be doing this a little bit of a side bend. You might be exploring a forward reach, giving your body, your back what is soothing, what is nourishing. And from here, we'll move into a cat pose. So take another breath or two with whatever these postures are showing you or giving you. Stay there if it's something beneficial. You don't have to be on the same exact timeline and train as the rest of us. Make this your class, your practice. You might need a rest. You might need to just breathe for a few moments. You might even like to come into the child's pose as if preparing for cat and not do it. You might just rest here. And you might be feeling the desire and the power to move through cat pose. Cat pose is classically known for the whole back, as it requires that forward and backward bend all the way from the tailbone to the crown of the head. You've got some things to pay attention to, and you might isolate and divide it out. We've done this sometimes in the past where you begin the movement from the tail. So if I'm in the inhale position now, I'll begin the exhale just with the tailbone, and then the hips, and then the low back, and then the mid back, and the neck and the head will be last. And I find myself in the exhale position, and then I begin again from the tail. Slowly, the tail comes up first, and then the hips. Woo, my low back goes from a convex to concave. The belly drops down, the shoulders drop away, and the head lifts last in this sequenced variation of the cat pose. Something to try if you're aiming to really get at some part of your back that's been difficult to access, maybe. So that's something to play with, and any other explorations that you might be needing. If you are working with your arms and forearms, you might explore different positions for the hands. Some students I've seen even placing the fingers pointing towards their own knees. That will stretch the insides of your wrists. Be very careful, right? Don't put too much pressure on if it doesn't feel steady. And I had a student who for some years would even fold her hands under. So the palms would be facing up and she would be resting on the backs of her hands. So again, these are a lot of intensity for the wrists. Some of you might find something there. Be gentle and cautious as you explore the wrists and the forearms in this weight and this pressure. And keep coming back to the familiar things, the soothing things as your body gives you those signals. You might have some other ways to get in there, your favorite variations. With no rush and with a great attention to what you need at any given moment. Taking a few more breaths or seconds with cat pose and coming into rest, either folded up in a child's pose, and here I'm using my fists. That's one option. You might not need anything, or you might like a small support under the forehead. So option one is folded up, and option two is stretched out, lengthened out. Take 5 breaths here and let yourself count. 5 breaths in the mind. Just counting mentally, breathing in 5, breathing out 5, breathing in 4, and so on. Preparing, if and when you're ready, for the back stretch that does begin long on the floor. Referred to as a locust. This is opposite arm and leg to begin with. The head as an option. From a long, straight position with the head supported if needed, if that feels good. Opposite arm and leg lift up. Engaging those muscles in the back, that strengthens them, that helps stretch out the front. So at least 3 repetitions, up to 6 repetitions. On this first side, whatever first pair of opposites you are lifting. And then you will switch. And part of the practice here is to develop the contrast. So when you rest completely. When the leg and the arm come down, you let yourself become mush, putty, sauce. And then engage to lift. Find that contrast of the muscles working and the muscles resting. And giving them that great big contrast of everyone on board and everybody resting. You might just need a deeper rest, and you might like to engage both arms, both legs, and the head in sort of a flying superhero variation of this posture. Letting yourself do that if that feels good. Perhaps honoring any other signals for rest. Taking again the opportunity to count 5 breaths. Taking a moment upon completion of the effort to find that depth in contrast, the depth in softness, the release. And from here, we will move in just a moment at your pace, at your time, into a downward dog, sometimes called a mountain pose, from that basic cat. The toes flip under and the knees lift up. And you'll do up here whatever it is you need to do. You might come up and return down. And you might also stay and play. Allowing this movement to be as organic, as informed by your sensations, by what your body is telling you. You are making decisions based on what you feel, not based on what you see or hear. You're making those decisions from your body. There's no wrong way to do this, so let yourself be exploring. Feet closer together, feet further apart. What does that change? How do I access the parts of my back that I want to access, or the parts of my arms? Is there something I can do with my shoulders or my knees to get the pressure a little different? More to the inside, more to the outside. What can I find? Find what you need in these upside down poses. And as you're ready, bringing them up to standing. To arrive in your upright position, in your human two-legged stance. Connect with your body and your breath here. What does it feel like to be in this orientation? You were just on the floor, you were just upside down. Now what? Reorientating one more time. Let your feet be parallel and a little bit open as you interlace the fingers. Flip those palms downward to reach straight up for a whole big body, full length, up and down. Stretch, keeping the shoulders away from the ears. As you lift and lower a few times, you might come up onto your toes. If that feels good to your feet, you might have the steadiness to lift and stay up on the toes for some breaths. Woo. And as that up and down gets what it needs, gives you what you need, standing wider. For the side bends. And in the side bends, you know that the arms are free to choose their favorite place. And depending on where the arms go, your back is going to have a different experience. So your shoulders are going to have different responsibilities. So you're choosing these arm positions responsively, not responsively in response. You're responding to the body. The body says, oh, a little less. Okay, a little less, body. Or maybe the body says a little more, and then you go in a little more. And the same thing with the position of the wrists and the hands. If you feel like something's tugging on your arms, you want this to be about your arms, see what happens with different wrist positions. in this big open stretch. You've got the hip opening to the shoulder blade. Is there a way to take it even deeper, even further into the hand? If that's what you want, if that's how your body is wishing to be stretched. Side to side. And next is a standing twist. From my favorite, right? Jazz hands, tall back, big open chest, little, even like a little lift, a little radiant heart. And then you wrap the arms around the body to go in for the twist in one direction and in the other. And you might take your time. This might be slow today. You might go in there. You might need to wring things out and breathe and twist. And you might like it fast. You might be in dynamic mode today. And you might like to go faster than your breath. This is your body, your practice, your time. Give yourself what you need. Let yourself receive these movements that nourish, that bring more oxygen, more blood flow, all the molecules of life arriving to your body through the breath, through inhales and exhales. Up and down, side to side, and the twist complete the basic needs of the spine, and we'll bring that all together with the forward backward bend. Then you might like to keep your arms low for that if your shoulders need that sort of accommodation. It might be just the basic short little forward bend, forward back. That might be your jam. This might be your practice today. You might go deeper. You might go all the way to the floor. And I've even seen some people step on their hands, if this is available to you. Your knees can be soft for this if you really want to get into those forearms. And then when you stand on your hands and you lift your back, you get your shoulders and your elbows even more stretched out. So that's another idea of what to do to get at different aspects of the arms that are a little tricky to get at. Standing on the hands and giving them that resistance. So in our forward backward bend sequence. And you might like to bring the hands together behind you. This might be your thing to bring the shoulder blades together, really opening the chest. And as you fold up and over, you might bring the hands up, right? They can be up a little bit. You might lift your head. You might let your head drop. So taking forward and backward bends with liberty and decision on what to do with the arms. Where do the arms go? Is your exploration, your choice. Yeah, so after we've completed those forward, backward movements, shake things out, see if your body needs any sort of spontaneous dance from those efforts in the shoulders and the spine. How about a bow and arrow for the backs, for the shoulders? You're standing wide. You might stand with the feet parallel and then you'll shift so that both feet are pointing in one direction and you can turn and face that direction. You're going to make all kinds of choices with your body. Your eyes are fixed and your feet are fixed, but everything in between has the possibility to open to twist. As you hold that imaginary bow and you pull that string, let yourself shoot a few arrows, hold that tension, make that tension, and then the contrast, the release, the letting go. In one direction as well as in the other. Keep noticing your choices with the hips, with the shoulders. Again, there's no wrong way to do this, but whatever you're doing, be aware. You might be letting those hips turn out. You might be keeping them fixed. You might be keeping them turned out. So noticing these nuanced variations, how they feel in the neck and the shoulders and the arms, one side and the other. Taking another moment here with these bows and these arrows as we wind into the last physical practice, as we come into the final shape, so to speak, the balancing pose. And continuing tonight, as we have done in past weeks, with a preparatory knee in the hands. It could be both hands, it could be one hand. This is a 3-step options balancing pose. Option 1, knee in front. Step number 2, option 2, foot behind. And that might be a quad stretch for some of you. Option 3, good to bring the arm out for balance, for steadiness, that bit of shift in the center of gravity, so that the heel can move away from the hip, create that loop, make it more challenging as you balance in this dance pose. If you can, recommendation is to come back out in the same way as you got in. Get that hip forward and a backward, and back to the forward before switching sides. And as always, the invitation is to alternate sides, doing at least 2 rounds. The first one is sort of a prep, and the second one is your real effort. And there might be 3 rounds if it feels good, if balancing is something that brings you satisfaction. I admit it does me. I have some small thrill from being able to stand on one leg, holding my balance for as long as I can. And it won't be very long, it goes away. But as long as I've got it, I cultivate it. And then I welcome that switch. Those points are all applicable. Focus of the eyes in one steady place, something that's not moving. The sense of pressure through the whole body, this lift through the whole body, through the fingertips and up the spine, through the crown of the head. And the thoughts support the movement. I've got this. I am balanced. I am steady. I can stand on one foot. With at least 2 rounds of this balance. Awesome. Notice what else you might be needing. Feel through your body. Some of you are ready to rest and to return to a focus on your breath, and I see some of you are still working the musculature and the joints. Take your time. Give it to your body. Now that you're warmed up is an excellent moment to get into some of those spots that might have felt stuck even earlier today. What is the favorite thing for your achiest joint? What is the favorite thing for your stiffest part of the body? Get right in there in this moment. Giving your body all kinds of stretches. Yep, I see folks standing and twisting, rolling on the backs, and that's all great. The body knows which way and can guide you now that you've been paying attention and hanging out with your muscles and your joints and your tendons and ligaments and the connective tissue of the fascia. It may be speaking to you, saying, hey, this way, hey, over here. And each body has a little different need, so it only makes sense that after we warm up the general stuff together, each one of us gets a moment of personal stretch time. And that might be movement and that might be rest. It is always a good time to come home. It is always a good time to breathe. And in just a moment here, I will be guiding you in a breathing practice and a yoga nidra, as always. And this all begins, as it does at this point in our session, this all begins with bringing the awareness home, home, home. And sometimes it helps to listen to the sounds that are present now, especially if the mind gets caught up in a memory or in a plan or in a worry. Saying, wait a minute, what is here now? I can hear these sounds. I can hear the voice of these instructions here in this class. I might hear some things coming through the windows or beyond the windows. There might be a hum, a buzz that's just present always in that space where you are, maybe the technology, or just maybe the hum of life in the house. So letting yourself listen and letting yourself listen to the breath or listen for the breath. There might be a very subtle sound, a very quiet breath. Checking in with what it sounds like today, what it sounds like now. And it's our ears that can hear. That's where the mechanics of listening are located in the body. And so you might hear the breath from the inside. You might hear the breath moving in the throat, or even filling through the sinuses from the insides of the ears there. And we will practice Ujjayi pranayam today. So if that's something that you enjoy and you want to just jump right into, you might do that. But you might take your moment and establish this restful breath first, this spontaneous breath. As you listen in particular into the breath at the level of the throat. Listening there. And Ujjayi pranayam, this deep ocean breath, this yogic breath with that little pressure at the throat, it actually is the breath of sleep. It is for those of us who might be snoring or might be sleeping with people who snore. That's what happens. Their tongues relax and their throats relax. And we all do this. We all come into a softer throat in our sleep. And that little snoring sound, that raspy breath, is sometimes created and becomes a loud snore, and sometimes subdued. And here in yoga, we can create it intentionally. We can make a decision to breathe in such a way that the awareness is at the throat. You might imagine that the air enters and exits a small opening at the neck, if that's a comfortable image for you. And you're becoming so soft and so settled that there is a gentle snore, a bit of an AH on inhale, and a bit of an HA on exhale. And the lips can be closed, so the sound is very internal, listening with the inside of the ears. So finding this pattern of breath and then inviting deeper and slower breaths. Once you've figured out what the mechanics are, you're slowing everything down. You're softening at the abdomen, at the diaphragm, allowing each rib to move in plenty accommodation to the breath, receiving the breath slowly and exhaling slowly. Awareness moving through the body as the breath moves through the throat. And the mind bonds with the sound, follows the sound. As you follow those gentle inhales to the top of the breath, and the gentle exhales out to the bottom. Allowing the breath to softly ease into a natural breath, letting go of any efforts. And inviting this body to breathe at its most natural, inviting this body to return to a breath that is effortless, and finding again the summertime. As the breath comes in and fills the body, there's this moment of fullness, the sense of completion, the high energy of an inhale as it slows down to stop and turns to become the exhale. Watch for the seasons in the breath as the inhale brings spring, creating the fullness of summer, and the exhale releases that fullness like autumn into the exhale, quiet, and rife with potential, like the winter, the bottom of the exhale. Notice what else the breath might need. A little breath exercise, breath witnessing. Perhaps a yawn is what the body needs, or maybe a big giant breath to stretch the lungs out from the inside, to stretch the ribs and the chest. And perhaps nothing at all. Perhaps this state of breath feels good, and the awareness of the breath is all that you feel that the breath might need. So in the way that everyone was moving their bodies before this breathing practice, now doing whatever you need with the breath, whatever you might enjoy or feel satisfied by. Through the chest and lungs, through the inhales and the exhales. This is the moment to give yourself the breath or the effort of breath that you enjoy. Mounting that effort into a release, into a decision to let everything go. The decision to surrender and to allow. As we shift into the final piece together, our yoga nidra practice. Again, the invitation to make yourself as comfortable as possible at this moment. So if there's anything in your environment that might increase your well-being, whether that's a fan turned on or turned off, whether that's a blanket pulled up or pushed away, there might be something under the knees that gives you comfort, and you might need to move something out from some part of you to make it more comfortable. So this is the moment. This is the moment when you check in with your body, turn to it like the most important guest, especially for the next 15 to 20 minutes as we move into our practice of awareness, our yoga for the brainwaves, the guided practice of yoga nidra, in which you are invited to go where you will choose to go. As I make suggestions and invitations, you make decisions. Even here throughout this practice, you will take what you need and hopefully get what you need in this practice. And so there's no wrong way to do this. It's good to remind ourselves that at least for the next 15 minutes, you are perfect. The breath is perfect. The body is perfect. And all that you need for this practice is to listen, to be aware. And even if the words of these instructions begin to fade or become confused as the brain moves through states of awareness that are approaching sleep, that's all right. Trust that your connection to this voice remains, and as the practice will end, you will be invited to exit and emerge externalized and alert. But now you are invited to go inward, to close the eyes, if it's safe to do that. And I have my eyes open here. They remain open to keep vigil, to hold the space for us all. And so you're allowing your defenses to drop with the eyes closing and the body surrendering upon the earth. And let your mouth be soft, let the jaw be soft, the eyes resting in their sockets. As the weight of the head makes itself known to you, as you feel the skull upon the surface beneath that support. Be aware of the shoulders and the arms as you feel through the body parts in their rest, through the spine and the hips. Be aware of this whole body. Be aware of the shape, the position, the placement. Be aware of all of its communication, any sensations, any discomforts that the body is reporting. Let the mind take note. Acknowledge all of the signals from this body, especially the ones of distress, the ones of pain or tension. Noticing everything that the body is showing you and receiving it, gazing upon this body with a great appreciation. Thank you, body. Thank you for awakening this morning. Thank you for getting out of bed and getting dressed, or at least being dressed if you perhaps woke up dressed. And thank you, body, for moving through this day, whatever you had in terms of drink or food or activities, perhaps encounters with other people, perhaps with critters, cats and dogs. Perhaps you read something, perhaps you watched something, perhaps you did some work today. Just letting this day, from the moment of awakening in this body, kind of move through you, letting yourself remember maybe some highlights of this Monday, some highlights of this first official day of spring, of summer, the longest day of the year, such a long day, so much to potentially do. And as the mind moves through this day and arrives to this moment, you arrived, you've made it here, you've made it to this practice, to be here and to be worried about nothing, hopefully, than to listen. And even that at 60%. So the body's comfortable and breathing and resting, and the mind is here. And as often you are invited to, again, the guidance is to drop the awareness down into the heart space. Take a moment to be aware of the physical home of the heart, of the chest with its ribs and muscles between the ribs and its lungs, and all those connective tissues that make the lungs, that make the windpipe and the air sacs, all around this beating heart, this human heart. Take this moment to rest the awareness in the physical experience of the breath and the heart here in this chest. Listen for the heart. Feel the heart. And hold the question, what do I wish to feel? How do I wish to feel? What are the experiences that I'm calling in, that I'm inviting in, that I'm welcoming to my life? What do I wish for? If the physical body is uneasy, perhaps that wish is for physical comfort. Perhaps that wish is for the back to gain a greater comfort, or the arms to feel a sense of freedom. That may be the wish you make for this practice. How do I wish to feel? And holding that awareness there, being there with the heart and the space between the shoulder blades, that hollow behind the heart. Allowing those wishes to collect there and to spread out into the shoulder blades, right and left, and into the armpits, right and left. Down the sides of the waist and around to the diaphragm and the abdomen with its upper section, its navel, the lower abdomen, around to the low back. Be aware of the trunk of the body supported by the pelvis with its hips and thighs. Let the mind move down the legs to the left knee and the right knee and the right shin and the left shin and the left ankle and the right ankle and the right foot and the left foot and the left big toe and the right big toe and all the toes, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the right, on the left. Top of the left foot and the top of the right foot. Be aware of the ankles, again, right and left, and the calves, right calf and left calf. Left knee and right thigh and left buttock and right buttock. Moving the awareness up the sides on the right and the left to the left armpit and the right armpit. and the right shoulder and the left shoulder, left upper arm, right elbow, left forearm, right wrist, left hand, right hand thumb, left hand thumb, left hand index finger, right hand index finger, right hand middle finger, left hand middle finger, left hand fourth finger, right hand fourth finger, right hand little finger, left hand little finger. Be aware of the hands and the arms and their connection to the chest and trunk, to the neck and the chin, the lips and the cheeks. Be aware of the right ear and the left ear, the right nostril and the left nostril, tip of the nose, bridge of the nose, right eye, right temple, left eyelid, right eyebrow, left eyebrow, and eyebrow center, forehead, and the crown of the head. And together, the head and the face, the neck, the shoulders, right arm, left arm, chest and upper back, low back and abdomen, right leg and left leg together, the whole body, the whole body, the whole body. Be aware of the whole body, awareness home to the whole body. Be aware of the front and the back, the right side, the left side, the lower half, the upper half, the whole body, the whole body, the whole body. The whole body together. In this place of rest and regeneration, reset and healing. How do I wish to feel? What can the inhale bring that would nourish? Do I need strength for this back? Do I need flexibility for these arms? Maybe courage to move forward on these legs. Whatever you need, whatever your heart's deepest desire, let the inhale bring that. Let the inhale arrive with that for you. Receiving every inhale, receiving this nourishment of every breath in. And knowing that the exhales are clearing, the exhales make space for that which you are receiving, for that which is coming, making space for how you wish to feel. Cultivating and deepening this, how do I wish to feel in my body? How do I wish to feel in my life, in my relations? How do I wish to feel? How do I wish to feel? What would happen? How would life look? How would I navigate my life feeling the way I wish to feel? What becomes possible in this feeling? Is it deep rest? Is it deep love? Deep joy? What happens feeling the way you wish to feel? So holding that awareness, knowing you can return here, generate these feelings, generate these answers at any time, at any moment. This body will return to this internal oasis. You might stay there. This might be all you need today. And you might choose to awaken, listening to the sounds again, the ambient sounds of life and the room where you are, and the real sounds of this voice and this guidance, and any other sounds, perhaps from the body, perhaps the sound of the breath, the heartbeat, the tiny, nondescript sounds. Listen and feel. Listen for the breath and feel the breath. Feel the air as it moves in the body, in the nose, in the throat, in the chest, in the whole body. Feel this breath arrive and be delivered to every cell in your body. As this practice comes to an end, notice what you notice. Notice what you're taking with you, what you might have received in this time together, what you might have left behind, free and lighter. Let the body begin to move. If that feels like a good idea, you might move the tongue a little bit and the fingers and the toes. You might need to roll over. You might want to wrap the arms around your body, give yourself a hug. You might want to touch your face and feel your eyebrows and your forehead with your fingertips. If you're choosing to do that, you might massage the earlobes a little bit. As we emerge from this Yoga Nidra practice that's coming to an end, you might choose to awaken. You might choose to stay resting. Touching the fingertips to the tip of the thumb one by one helps also awaken and prepare you for what's next. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being here. The better you feel in your body, the better this world is for everybody as that permeates, right? We can feel people with good vibe, the way our animals are attracted to us when we meditate. So thank you. Thank you for watching. Please like the video and leave a comment about your experience. And while you're here, please subscribe to my channel and opt in for notifications to catch the next class I upload. And then head over to olgachwa.com to join in a live event or to work one-on-one with me. I'm here to help.